It's exam time for high school students, and if your child lives with a learning disability, they may be stressed and struggling right now. The Learning Disabilities Association of Manitoba has advice on how to help your teenager navigate their studies. Joining us now from the Learning Disabilities Association of Manitoba is Karen Velthuys. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, the Learning Disabilities Association of Manitoba has seen their numbers just explode. A lot more kids are coming forward with learning disabilities. What does that look like exactly for the many different children and what they're seeing?
Yeah, so our organization supports with learning supports actually. So we do one-on-one tutoring support, whether it be with reading, with math. We're even expanding, it seems, into science and helping kids through science classes and things like that. So,
and there's many different forms of learning disabilities, right?
Right, there's 5. So, but the primary learning disability is dyslexia. So that's what we say. About 80% of the population that's diagnosed with a learning disability would be diagnosed with dyslexia. So that's the disability that it makes it difficult to learn how to read or to process reading.
Okay, and then once you're in the exam setting, I remember how stressful it was when I was a kid. So bring the learning disability on top of that, it just adds to that anxiety. Tell us a little bit about how that exam period can really set things off for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult because the exam is there to measure what kids know. And unfortunately, the way exams are set up, for kids with LD, it's really difficult for them to show what they know because they're built around a different way than their brains process information. So often they can shut down even, as they're getting into the exam or even before they're getting into the exam.
So what can mom and dad do, or what advice do you have for kids who are struggling right now?
I think there's and often we think, well, the more we cram, the better, like the more we study, the more we know. It's really important to take those study breaks. So we often encourage kids to use the Pompadour method. So if someone hasn't heard about that, you study for 25 minutes, you take a 5-minute break, right? Study for 25 minutes again, take a 5-minute break. Just giving yourself that ability to move away from that material. Often having a movement break too for 10 minutes within that Pompadour time can really help. Movement really helps solidify concepts and information. So, and even using movement while you're studying, right? Not thinking that just sitting down and reading a piece of paper is getting the information where it needs to be. Sometimes making that as a movement helps.
So whether their hands are moving with a fidget spinner or they're just rocking on the rocking chair, that kind of thing?
Walking through the park even, right? Just recalling information, just having some of that movement. And we often also have to help kids understand how they learn best, right? So it could be through listening to an audiobook. Maybe mom and dad tape some information and they just listen to it. They're walking around through the park. Maybe that information is on a recording that they can just...
That's neat.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so once they're in that exam, things can be so distracting for them, right? So any advice on how to manage that?
Yeah, so figuring out where you best position yourself within an exam space. So it might be the front of the classroom, right? So that you're not watching everything that's going on in front of you. It could be the side of a classroom so that you're, closer to a wall. If kids have accommodations in school, they need to have those same accommodations in their exam process, right? So perhaps they are wearing noise-canceling headphones so that they're not being distracted. Perhaps they're in a separate quiet space so that they have that time. Again, we're not trying to give kids an advantage. We're trying to set the playing field as level. Right?
Okay. And again, if you want more information, you could always go to the Learning Disabilities Association of Manitoba's website. Thank you, Karen.
Of course. Thank you.